Experience miraculous healing. Sleep with these 7 sacred psalms for divine transformation tonight. In the year circa 1000 BC, amid the turmoil of Israel's internal discord and external threats, David, the shepherd-turned-king, found himself in a crucible of despair. Surrounded by looming adversaries, he now faced an even more formidable enemy: his own debilitating illness. Seated in his chamber, flickering oil lamps cast restless shadows on the walls that bore witness to his solitude. It was here, under the weight of national crisis and personal affliction, that he felt most vulnerable. Amidst the haunting echoes of doubt and fear, he reached for his lyre, fingers trembling as he formed the chords that resonated with the melodies of his heart. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," he whispered, drawing strength from Psalm 23. The familiar words flooded him with memories of green pastures and still waters, yet despair clung to him like a shadow, reminding him of his weakness. The trials of leadership and the anguish of illness gnawed at his spirit. He longed for the reassurance of God's presence. Days turned into restless nights, with each tick of time amplifying the heaviness in his heart. In a moment of desperation, David knelt and cried out to the Almighty, wrestling with thoughts that threatened to consume him. "Why are you downcast, O my soul? Why so disturbed within me?" The words of Psalm 42 echoed through his mind, the rawness of his plea striking a chord deep within his spirit. His heart yearned for connection, to feel Yahweh's divine nearness as the deer pants for the streams of water. As he pored over the sacred scrolls of the Scriptures, David reflected on the mighty deliverance God had already given to him and his people. "For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence," he declared from Psalm 91, igniting a glimmer of hope. He knew that the victories of the past were not mere memories, they were testimonies of God's unwavering love and faithfulness, but the weight of impending battles pressed heavy upon him, causing doubt to rise even higher. Would his cries be heard amidst the cacophony of his fears? He clung tightly to the psalms he had penned, each line a lifeline to the hem of God's garment. "He heals the broken-hearted and binds up their wounds," he proclaimed, voicing his faith with fierce determination, sensing the presence of God closing in around him, promising healing and restoration. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. As David sought solace in sleep, his heart trembled with expectation and fear. What would God reveal in the sacred silence of the night? He lay in anticipation, pondering the divine encounter that may await him, his soul clinging to the promise of a healing that transcends understanding, a divine purpose poised just beyond his longing for restoration. Would the God who delivered him from the lion and the bear also deliver him from this affliction? In the quietness, the air shimmered with holy mystery, beckoning him to a deeper trust, leaving the promise of healing hanging, suspended in the night air. As the moon cast its silver glow upon the land, David slowly succumbed to slumber, his weary eyes closing at last. His heart still echoed the cries of his spirit, a symphony of hope and despair. In that deep stillness, a dream unfolded, rich with divine imagery and profound significance. In his dream, David found himself standing on a vast mountainside, the same hills that cradled his childhood. The familiar songs of nature surrounded him, the rustling leaves, the gentle stream flowing in the valley below, a reminder of the shepherd's life he once led. Yet, amid this serene setting, a great cloud rose from the horizon, dark and menacing, casting a shadow over the land. Fear gripped his heart once more, but from the cloud, a voice emerged, resonating with authority and love. "David, my chosen king, why do you fear? Have I not been your shield, and your strength?" With a trembling voice, he replied, "O Lord, my soul is afflicted, my body weak. I am surrounded by dangers and my heart aches for healing." The voice continued, "Fear not, for I am with you. Trust in me, for I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you. I shall heal your wounds and deliver you from all your troubles." David felt the warmth of comfort envelop him as the voice spoke, filling him with hope. But how, O Lord? How shall I witness your greatness in my affliction? Lift your eyes to the hills, the voice instructed, for where does your help come from? Your help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. In this moment, the shadow began to dissolve across the expanse of the mountains. Rays of brilliant light streamed forth, illuminating the way ahead, a path paved with grace and truth. As David walked along this path, he encountered a multitude of faces, men, women, and children, each bearing their own burdens, their eyes reflecting despair and pain. Yet, as they looked upon David, their expressions gradually transformed into hope. They whispered, "King David, lead us to the one who heals." Understanding flowed within David's heart. "Come, all who are weary and burdened, for he will give you rest." He cried out. For he is near to the broken-hearted and saves the crushed in spirit. As the dream unfolded, the people began to gather, pointing to the horizon where a brilliant light shone brighter than 1,000 suns, revealing a figure at its center radiant and majestic. It was as if all creation recognized him, bowing in reverence. Awakening from his dream, David sat bolt upright, the weight of divine purpose heavy on his heart. The words of his dream reverberated in his mind. They were not mere fabrications but a calling, a vision infused with God's promise. He sensed a stirring in his spirit, an undeniable confidence arising where once there had been despair. Rising to his feet, he turned to the sacred scrolls before him, his fingers tracing the ancient words of the Psalms anew. "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name," he proclaimed, his voice now strong with resolve. And as the dawn broke, bathing the land in hues of gold and crimson, David knew that he was not simply a king besieged by troubles, he was the vessel of God's healing, a testament to his sovereign plan that would not only restore him but transform a nation aching for hope. Yet, in the depths of this awakening, a new question stirred within him: what awaited him beyond this time of healing? What greater purpose did God have for him and his people in this troubled world? Thus hung the promise of revelation, pregnant with divine mystery, beckoning David to uncover the next step in his journey, a journey entwined with a promise yet unfulfilled, veiled in the shadows of God's masterful design. David rose before the sun fully broke the horizon, his heart buoyed by the vision that had taken root in the depths of his spirit. The air was crisp, filled with the chirp of morning birds heralding the day. As he stepped outside, his eyes surveyed his kingdom, a realm laden with both promise and peril. With each step, he felt the lingering weight of the dream pressing upon him, a reminder of the great multitude yearning for healing. Could I be the one to lead them? He pondered. The words echoed through his mind, "He will give you rest." David drew near to the place where he often spent quiet moments in prayer, not merely as an act of devotion but as a necessity of his spirit. Kneeling upon the cool earth, he whispered a prayer of gratitude, his voice mingling with the rustle of leaves. "O Lord, illuminate the path before me, for I am but a shepherd, and my heart seeks your guidance." As he poured out his soul, visions of the suffering people filled his thoughts, those who felt abandoned, those who cried out for the lost and broken. He recalled the words of the prophet Isaiah: "He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed." Isaiah 53 verse 5. Suddenly, as if summoned by his prayers, a messenger approached from the distant horizon. The urgency in the man's stride stirred David's attention, and he rose to greet him. "What news do you bring? Speak, my brother." The messenger, breathless and eager, relayed the tidings of a nearby village stricken with illness. "The people are crying out for relief, O king. They say you have been chosen to intercede for them before the Most High." David's heart surged with a mixture of fear and hope. Could it be that the dream was directing him toward this very moment? "Gather the elders of our people," he commanded, "and let us go to them. For healing may come through our hands if we trust the Lord's promise." As they journeyed, the air grew heavy with anticipation. David recalled how the Lord had healed the sick through his prophets. He remembered how Elisha's voice had restored Naaman the Syrian, cleansing him of leprosy. "What does it mean for us, Lord? Are we to be your vessels today?" He mused aloud, and those around him nodded. Ignited by his growing faith, they arrived at the village, a place steeped in despair, where cries of distress echoed. The sight of the afflicted broke David's heart anew. His spirit cried out within him, "O Lord, grant us your grace to heal." Positioning himself before the gathered throng, David raised his hands, calling upon the name of the Lord. "Hear me, O people. The God who is mighty to save is among us. You are not forgotten. He is the one who said, 'I will restore health to you, and your wounds I will heal.'" Jeremiah 30 verse 17. As he prayed, a profound stillness enveloped the people. One by one, those who had come burdened began to feel strength course through their limbs. Murmurs of hope rose like a chorus, echoing through the village. He witnessed the miraculous power of divine healing unfolding, bringing forth a manifestation of God's mercy and love. In that sacred moment, amidst the joy and astonishment of the onlookers, David understood the divine tapestry woven through his life. He was part of a greater narrative, one that would reach far beyond the confines of this village. As the sun set, casting golden tones across the land, the people rejoiced in newfound health, their cries now shifting from sorrow to praise. Yet, deep within David stirred a new query: what greater things lie ahead, and what further glory is meant to be revealed through this act of mercy? Thus, the clouds of divine mystery hung still, shadowing the horizon of his heart, beckoning him to delve deeper into the unfolding plan of the Most High. What awaited him was not merely a task but a revelation of God's unmatched sovereignty, suffused with the promise and magnificence of his eternal design. As night cloaked the village, David remained, his spirit restless yet stirred by the awe of the day's events. The faces of those he had healed flashed before him, eyes now bright with hope, cries of despair transformed into songs of joy. The air, filled with the fragrant embrace of evening, bore witness to the miraculous workings of the Lord. Yet, the night brought a heaviness to his heart, for the healer's journey bore weight beyond the simple fading light. Who was he, David pondered, to be chosen as a vessel of such power? The promise of the Lord rang through him, echoing the ancient words, "You are my servant, I have chosen you and not cast you off." Isaiah 41 verse 9. What a proclamation, indeed! The shepherd had become an instrument of divinity. As he stood amidst the rejoicing people, he was suddenly reminded of the psalms he cherished, sacred songs that had nurtured his spirit in dark days. Perhaps these melodies could offer comfort, awakening a sense of divine connection in the hearts of the healed. One by one, he recited them, inviting the crowd to join in unity. "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, bless his holy name." Psalm 103 verse 1, he declared, his voice ringing out like a trumpet in that dimming twilight. The people echoed his words, their hearts lifting as they praised the God who had seen their affliction. In that moment, as declarations of faith filled the night, David felt the Spirit of God moving within him anew. Even the very earth beneath him throbbed with an energy that drew forth hope. It was as if heaven leaned closer, a thin veil separating might and humanity. He turned to the elders gathered around him, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames that danced with each breath of wind. Let us remember the Psalms. They speak of the Lord's steadfast love and promise. They are not mere songs, they are the living word, inspired breath from the Almighty. Sing with me, he urged, and together they began to recite Psalm 91, recalling how the Lord promised, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." Psalm 91 verse 1. With each verse, the collective faith solidified like iron, forging an unbreakable connection to the everlasting covenant of God. As the night wore on, David's thoughts drifted toward the future, his heart gripped by curiosity as he sensed the winds of God's purpose shifting. What further wonders awaited him in this kingdom of Israel? And how did these healings align with the divine promises spoken through the prophets? Amidst the sound of heartfelt psalms, he recalled the prophecy, whispering to the night sky as if it could answer him. "The Lord has said, from the fruit of your body will I set upon your throne." Psalm 132 verse 11. David's heart burned within him, understanding that he was not only witnessing healing but was a pivotal part of a larger, redemptive narrative that would echo through generations. The enormity of God's plan began to unfold in the depths of his own spirit, calling him forward into the unknown, but just as he grasped this knowledge, a flicker in the shadows caught his eye. It was a figure, standing apart from the gathering, with an expression veiled in contemplation. David felt the pull of destiny tugging at him, guiding him to this figure, a new chapter on the threshold of revelation. What was the significance of this moment? The answers loomed just beyond reach, tantalizing and real, filled with possibilities as yet unspoken. For the night was still young, and the dawn would bring not only light but the unveiling of God's sovereign plan, a new beginning heralded by the coming of his kingdom. As David stepped towards the figure in the shadows, a stillness enveloped the evening air, heavy with an unspoken expectancy. The flickering flames cast shadows that danced like spirits, illuminating the stoic face of the stranger. In that moment, the laughter and songs from the gathering faded, replaced by the heartbeat of divine mystery. "Who are you?" David asked, his voice steady yet charged with curiosity. The figure stepped forward, revealing deep lines etched upon his face, lines that told a story of struggle, wisdom, and perhaps despair. "I am Nathan, a prophet of the Most High," he replied, his voice a whisper, yet resounding in David's heart like a mighty declaration. "I have come bearing a message, a revelation from the Lord that is intertwined with the dreams you nurture." David's heart quickened. Could it be that God's purposes were being revealed through this man? He had faced many trials, and yet each challenge had drawn him closer to understanding the heart of God. The notion that he might be on the brink of a significant unveiling stirred excitement and trepidation within him. "What has the Lord spoken?" David implored, his thoughts racing back to the Psalms of old, the divine verses that had shaped his faith. Would this moment echo the prophecies poured forth over the ages? Nathan's eyes glimmered with divine insight. The Lord speaks of a covenant deepened and a throne established, not merely of kings and nations, but of hearts transformed. "For your lineage, David, will rise to bring forth a new hope. You are a shepherd to my people, yet I shall establish you as a father to a kingdom. The son born of your line will be known as the Prince of Peace." A profound awe struck David, his knees nearly faltered beneath him. The weight of the prophecy washed over him, the Lord's promise wrapped within the future of his own blood. He recalled the words spoken to him, golden threads of hope interwoven into the fabric of his existence. "Lord, how can this be?" he inquired, uncertainty rising again. "For how could I, a shepherd boy, ascend to such heights?" Nathan stepped closer, the flame flickering between them, casting light on the truth in his eyes. "It is not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts." Zechariah 4 verse 6. "The path ahead will be fraught with trials, yet through each affliction, my glory shall be revealed." David felt the Spirit stir within him, igniting a new resolve. "I am ready to follow wherever you lead, Lord," he declared, though the burden of hope and responsibility lay heavy. What journey awaited him? What trials? Yet, he could not help but feel the touched hand of God guiding him. "Take heart, for the Lord is with you," Nathan continued. "Remember the words of the psalmist, 'The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear?' Psalm 27 verse 1. Fear not the road ahead, for it converges with the divine." In that sacred moment, the village became a tapestry of light and joy once more, but now David saw it with new eyes, each soul representing a passage within God's unfolding story. Every wound healed bore witness to his radical love, a love that would break into the world through the lineage of a humble shepherd. Yet, even as certainty began to form in his spirit, dark clouds loomed on the horizon. He felt an unsettling presence among the cheers, shadows whispering of battles yet to come. What trials might the kingdom face as the king began to rise? He looked to Nathan, his heart full of questions. Would he be strong enough to bear the mantle, to fulfill the calling of the psalmist and the prophet? As dawn approached, illuminating the night with promise, he understood that the weight of God's sovereign plan was summoning him yet further into his purpose, a realization that would forever change Israel. For the time had come to reveal not only a kingdom but a divine destiny, a new beginning intertwined with the ancient covenant, a revelation that echoed through eternity. What lay ahead could alter the very course of grace and redemption among the nations. As the dawn broke, the light spilled over the hills like a warm embrace, illuminating the face of David and Nathan in divine radiance. David stood in silent wonder, thoughts racing with the weight of the prophecy. His heart swelled, not just with hope, but with the knowledge that he was being woven into a tapestry of sacred history, a history that had begun long before his own existence. Nathan regarded him with a steady gaze, sensing the internal battle raging within David's soul. "The Lord has not chosen you without purpose, David," he spoke with conviction. "In the days to come, you will face trials that will test your heart and your faith. You must remember that God's glory shines brightest through our struggles." "What if I falter?" David whispered, the vulnerability of uncertainty mingling with his growing courage. "What if I am not the king that Israel needs?" Nathan placed a hand upon David's shoulder, conveying a weight of assurance. "Fear not, for the Lord chose you while you tended the flocks. He saw your heart, and it is good. Your journey will be marked by both joy and sorrow, but through it all, you shall see his faithfulness." David nodded slowly, the gravity of Nathan's words settling upon him. He recalled the songs he sang while shepherding, the melodies that conveyed his joys and lamentations alike, each note an offering to the Lord. In those moments, he had felt the hand of God guiding him, and now, that same presence promised to sustain him in the face of looming darkness. Suddenly, the laughter of the people reached them once again, a chorus celebrating life and community unfurling before them. Yet, amidst the revelry, a flicker of foreboding tugged at David's spirit. "What must I do to prepare for what lies ahead?" "Seek the Lord diligently," Nathan advised, his voice earnest. "In every trial, lean upon his understanding, as it is written, 'Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight.'" Proverbs 3 verses 5-6. Pray for wisdom, for as the Lord raises you, he will also reveal the depths of his plans. With every word, a shift was happening within David. Hope intermingled with trepidation, and he felt the stirrings of destiny igniting his spirit anew. He glanced at Nathan, who stood as a beacon of divine guidance, and his mind wrestled with the reality of kingship, the governance of a nation in turmoil, and the restoration of an errant people. A flicker of doubt lingered, yet David's resolve strengthened. "If the Lord has chosen me, I shall answer the calling, come what may. I will face the giants before me." At that moment, the sun broke forth with brilliant clarity, a signal of promise illuminating the hills of Israel. The air was thick with anticipation as the fibers of David's being echoed with an emerging truth. He was indeed a vessel of God's purpose. Suddenly, Nathan stepped back, his expression morphing from prophetic calm to deep concern. "Beware, David. The enemy lurks among the shadows, plotting against the kingdom that shall rise. He will come to challenge the very foundation of what you are to become." David felt a chill run through him, as the weight of Nathan's warning loomed large. The future was fraught with challenges, not only from foes without but from treacheries that would threaten to unravel his heart. In whispers, the wind seemed to caution him, telling tales of betrayal and conflict, yet the weight of destiny rested upon his shoulders, the promise of a king to lead his people back to faith. What would it take to stand firm in the face of such trials? How would he not only fulfill his purpose but also bring forth the promises of God to fruition? With these thoughts brimming in his heart, a determination surged within him. "I will take my place before the Lord. I will fight, for God has called me to lead. He has woven me into his grand design." As David turned his gaze towards the horizon, a thought churned within him, igniting both fear and fervor. The time for preparation was at hand, and the path to glory was fraught with darkness. The victory that awaited him would reveal not only the power of the Almighty but the heart of man in pursuit of divine purpose, and as the light of dawn embraced the trembling land, he understood that the journey ahead was not solely about winning a throne. It was a confrontation of souls, a revelation of God's eternal covenant, compelling him to delve deep into faith, to rise in strength, and to guard the lineage that would change everything, for the time had indeed come to uncover not just a kingdom, but the very essence of God's work among his people. The calling would challenge and reshape, and soon, the very heart of Israel would be tested by trials unknown. What would be revealed in the fullness of his sovereign grace? As the sun ascended higher in the azure sky, casting a golden hue upon the land, David stood, absorbed in contemplation. The weight of Nathan's warning lingered like a dark cloud after the dawn, a reminder that the path ahead would not be without peril. Each breath he took was filled with an urgent resolve, fanning the flames of courage ignited within him that he turned to Nathan once more, knowing their time was precious. You spoke of trials, Nathan. I desire to be vigilant, but what form shall these trials take? How does one prepare for an unseen enemy? Nathan's eyes glimmered with understanding, and he replied, the adversary you will face is cunning. He will lurk in the shadows of your heart and in the hearts of those closest to you. Yet, take heed, it is not merely an earthly battle. Ephesians reminds us, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6 verse 12. Your strength must come from the very one who calls you. A shiver coursed through David at the gravity of the struggle laid before him. He felt the weight of kingship upon his shoulders intensifying, mingling with his burgeoning strength. What must I do? How can I discern the path through the shadows? He queried, seeking clarity for the tumult within. Seek wisdom diligently, Nathan urged. In the quietness of your heart, open yourself to the whispers of the Lord. As it is written, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. James 1 verse 5. But remember, true wisdom is often gained in the crucible of trial. David's heart raced as he regarded the enormity of both the promise and the potential perils. I will pray without ceasing, he declared, and sing to my God, for it is through worship that my spirit will be fortified. As the words escaped his lips, Nathan smiled gently, recognizing the divine purpose rising within the shepherd boy. Continue to pour your heart into songs of praise, David. For the enemy cannot withstand a heart rooted in worship. In every note, declare God's goodness, and guard your spirit against despair. The Lord will fight your battles but implores you to remain steadfast in your faith. With newfound determination, David breathed deeply, clutching his harp, an extension of his very soul. He envisioned the valleys where he had once roamed, his melodies echoing amongst the hills and valleys of Israel. Each song that flowed from his heart became an offering, a shield against the darkness awaiting him, but just as hope began to take root, a whispered reminder lingered in the air, betrayal would soon come at the hands of those he trusted most. As he gazed into the distance, a silhouette passed, a fleeting shadow that darkened his heart. The duel would not just be against armies, but a battle waged within the souls of men. Nathan. He called out, a tremor in his voice. What of my brothers? What of those I hold dear? How shall I navigate such treachery? Be prepared, dear David, Nathan warned somberly. Let your heart remain steadfast, for it is through the crucible of betrayal that you shall discover who your true allies are. Dearer still will be the heart of the father who neither forsakes nor forgets his children. As the day drew on, David felt an urgency growing within him, an insatiable knowledge that he was being watched not only by the eyes of men but by the divine who meticulously orchestrated every moment of his life. The fabric of glory was being woven intricately, but within it lay the threads of pain, betrayal, and the hope of ultimate redemption, and thus, fortified by worship and guided by wisdom, David prepared to step into the turmoil of his destiny. But even as he readied himself, a question echoed in his soul, in the unfolding story of his life, what divine mysteries awaited him? What tapestry would the Lord weave from his trials, for unbeknownst to David, the heavens prepared for an unfolding revelation, a plan far greater than he could ever imagine, a promise that would echo through the ages, resting in the fullness of God's grace. As the evening shadows began to stretch across the land, David sought a place of solitude. The air was warm, heavy with the scent of wildflowers, yet his heart was burdened with thoughts of betrayal and the turbulent path that lay ahead. He withdrew into a quiet grove, where ancient trees stood as witnesses to his plight, their branches whispering secrets of ages past. That he knelt beside a great rock, pressing his forehead against its cool surface. In that moment of stillness, he poured forth his soul to the Lord, recounting the promises made to him and the weight of the crown that now felt as heavy as iron. "O Lord," he lamented, "will you not grant me clarity? Where shall I find solace amid the tumult that surrounds me? My spirit is overshadowed by fear, and I seek your radiant light." As the twilight deepened, David's heart resonated with the words of the psalmist, "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life, of whom shall I be afraid?" Psalm 27 verse 1. With these truths, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him, as if the darkness could not extinguish the flame of faith that had once set his heart ablaze. Thus, he began to sing softly, his harp cradled in his arms. The melodies danced upon the evening breeze, woven from the very essence of his being. Praise the Lord, for his mercy endures forever. Each note ascended like incense, mingling with the cries of the night. Here, in this sacred moment, he felt the presence of the Almighty wrapping around him, encasing him in peace as he worshipped, unburdening every fear and anxiety. Yet, as David sang, shadows flitted just beyond the grove, eyes watching with ill intent. For unbeknownst to the king, Saul's envy had grown into a malignant force, festering within him and compelling him towards treachery. It was a pain born of insecurity, a torment that transformed a father's heart into a chamber of bitterness. Samuel's anointing had set into motion a chain of events that would unravel the very fabric of kinship. The dawn of the following day brought news, carried swiftly to David as a wildfire through dry brush. He learned of men boasting of his prowess and treachery from King Saul's own lips. "Behold, the son of Jesse. Saul had raged to his council, he has become a threat to my throne. We must strike before he strikes." A chill crept down David's spine with each echo of the king's vengeful words. In that moment, the harrowing truth struck him: his beloved brethren would soon be dragged into a conflict not of their making. With tears mingling with resolve, David implored the Lord. "Father, show me how to navigate through this web of deceit. May my brothers remain untainted by Saul's wrath. I will never turn against them, nor forsake them in their hour of need." A stirring presence calmed his turbulent spirit, and he sensed the Lord's response, quiet yet firm. "Fear not, for I will guide your steps. Remain faithful, your trials will reveal the depth of your character. Those who are for you shall rise, and others shall fall by their own folly." Fortified by divine assurance, David felt the burgeoning hope take root as he looked toward the horizon, where the sun chased away the remnants of night. He knew the battles ahead would test him, but God was weaving a grander narrative that transcended the immediate threats, for even now, in the silence that enveloped him, something miraculous stirred. Unbeknownst to David, alliances were forming amid the turmoil, as God raised unseen champions from unexpected places to stand with him in the days to come. Thus, he whispered a quiet prayer, laying his fears at the altar of faith, a servant of the Most High caught within the tapestry of the Almighty's sovereign plan, destined to walk paths he had yet to understand. And he pondered, what future triumph awaited, concealed in the folds of time? What redemptive purpose would emerge from the crucible of betrayal? As the first rays of dawn pierced the morning mist, David arose, compelled by the weighty silence that enveloped him. With each step away from the grove, he felt the promise of the Lord echoing in his heart. The air was fresh and crisp, filled with the invigorating aroma of dew-kissed earth. Yet his mind was heavy, burdened with the reality of losing his brethren to the machinations of King Saul. In that hour, as he traversed the forest paths, thoughts of urgency filled his spirit. David felt the need for counsel, and so he sought out Jonathan, son of Saul, his beloved friend, who had stood with him in past trials. Their bond was forged in the fires of loyalty and mutual respect, birthed in the fields where they had first met. Upon reaching the familiar oak where they often gathered, David called out, "Jonathan! Hurry, my friend, for the burden of my heart presses heavily upon me." Jonathan emerged through the brush, his brow furrowed with concern. "What troubles you, O son of Jesse? Why does your face appear as though struck by the sun's fiercest rays?" David spoke, his voice laced with the tremors of unease. "Saul seeks my life. He has turned the shadow of his envy into a vendetta. I fear for our people and for you, dear Jonathan. Will you not help me uncover a way to elude this peril? With solemnity, Jonathan placed his hand upon David's shoulder, speaking words of reassurance. Let us devise a plan. I shall speak to my father. Perhaps he will show mercy against your noble heart. The two conspired, devising a test that would reveal Saul's intentions. David would remain hidden, while Jonathan would confront his father at the feasting table, observing the king's response. If Saul's wrath stirred like the tempest, it would be clear that the threat was imminent. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the forest with a golden hue, they parted ways. David retreated to the safety of the wilderness, hidden among the stones and thickets, praying fervently for wisdom and protection. That evening, as the shadows crept back over the land, Jonathan returned bearing news. His eyes shone bright, yet they were shadowed with the weight of his words. David, my brother, the heart of Saul burns with rage. He has vowed to seek your life, and he even spoke of exile for all who would stand with you. You, therefore, must flee. Rising from his place of concealment, David's spirit stirred with a mixture of despair and resolve. Then let it be so. I shall trust in the Lord's plan, for he has not abandoned me in my trials. I will take refuge in the cave of Adullam. Should that be their aim, I will rally those who feel the burden of this affliction alongside me. Jonathan's eyes glistened with tears as he took his friend's hand. Do not lose heart, my beloved friend. We are bound in covenant, and I will not let the darkness have its way unchallenged. May Yahweh guide you. May he raise an army of the downtrodden to stand with you. So it was that David departed, his heart a mixture of fear and faith, embarking upon a journey into the unknown. He knew this world would test him fiercely, but within his heart resounded the promise of the Lord, the righteous cry, and the Lord hears, and delivers them out of all their troubles. Psalm 34 verse 17. As David entered the cave, shadows danced ominously upon the walls, reflecting the struggle awaiting him within and without. Yet even in the oppressive silence, hope flickered anew. God was shaping a deliverance, molding a refuge amid his trials, for something great was at hand, and in that moment, the Lord whispered mysteries into David's spirit, planting seeds of destiny that would soon come to fruition. What alliances would rise from the ashes of adversity? Whose hearts would join his in the quest for justice amid injustice? The unfolding of God's eternal plan awaited, veiled in divine suspense. In the cavern's shadows, David resolved to rise above despair, seeking strength not from his own hand, but from the hand of God. Surrounded by the echoes of his former life, he felt the weight of his calling heavier than ever. Alone yet never abandoned, he poured his heart into prayer, recounting the covenant promises of the Most High that had guided them thus far. O Lord, he cried out, you are my refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. I will trust in you. In response, the cave seemed to tremble with divine affirmation. David's spirit flickered with the embers of hope, igniting a fierce resolve to lead the downtrodden who would seek justice. As the sun dipped low, casting a warm glow into the cavern, a band of misfits and the weary began to gather, the disenfranchised, the distressed, those who had been cast aside by a king's wrath. These would become his companions, rising with him to confront the bitterness that sought to consume their land. Recognizing the divine orchestration at play, David stood before them as the shepherd he had always been. Brothers and sisters, he proclaimed, his voice resonant with authority, this burden we bear is not ours alone. God has chosen us to stand against the darkness that weighs heavy on our hearts. Take heart. For the Lord will deliver us from our afflictions, and we shall be instruments of his justice and love. His words were met with murmurs of agreement, and those gathered began to draw closer, igniting a flicker of unity and strength within the shadows. Together, they began to share their stories, their hopes and dreams entangled with despair. Each testimony wove a thread of purpose into the tapestry of what they could become, intertwining their destinies under the overarching plan of the Almighty. Amidst this newfound fellowship, a familiar face emerged from the ranks, a face filled with vulnerability, yet unwavering in loyalty: Jonathan, the son of Saul. Dear friend, Jonathan spoke softly, his voice steady as he aligned himself with David in the dim light of the cave. I could not abandon you to the shadows. Though my father hunts your life, I stand with you, our bond remains unbroken in the face of treachery. Emboldened by this allegiance, David felt the reassurance of God's presence envelop them, a reminder that his path was not walked in solitude. A call to arms echoed in his heart, igniting the camp fires within each soul present. He gathered them close once more. We have a purpose to stand against despair and fight faithfully, not only for our own lives but for the renewing of hope among all Israel. Let us embolden one another and declare the goodness of our God. And as David led them in song, the sound reverberated through the cavern, intertwining their voices into a sweet melody of unwavering faith. Each note rose as an offering, a declaration of trust in God's providence. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," they sang, their hearts beating in harmony, illuminating the darkness with praises to the one who remains forever faithful. Days turned into weeks as David and his band navigated the perils of the wilderness, growing stronger in spirit and number. They encountered foes, yes, but also witnessed divine interventions that spoke of God's relentless pursuit of his people. With every victory over the trials, their bond deepened, a reflection of the fabric of Israel's healing journey that had just begun. It was during one of these nights, lit by the silver glow of the moon, that David felt a stirring in his spirit, a call to unite the tribes of Israel under his banner of hope. "This is the moment we become a nation again," he proclaimed, boldness etched upon his features. "Let us march, not led by fury, but by the Spirit of the living God." As his companions rallied, the humble shepherd turned king sensed the spirit of prophecy once more stirring within him, the promise of a kingdom recovered from despair. He knew that God was with him, as he had been with every generation before. "From the fruit of my body shall a greater king arise," he declared, speaking a future into existence yet veiled in divine timing. Thus, they set forth to claim the land that had been forged in battles past, propelled by hope, fortified by faith, ready to meet the destiny God had ordained from the beginning. Each tribe, each soul echoed with the rhythm of history reclaimed, healing would flow among the people. As the days unfolded and alliances were established, the winds of change rustled through the banners raised high. The kingdom of Israel would become a beacon, a place where the murmur of healing could be heard amidst the clamor of strife, a testimony to God's faithfulness interwoven through the tapestry of his chosen people. In this movement of God's sovereign hand, David understood that he was but a vessel in the unfolding story of redemption and grace. He drew near to the gathered multitude, speaking words of encouragement and affirmation, sharing the psalms that had nurtured his spirit. "The Lord is gracious, and full of compassion, slow to anger, and of great mercy." With each line he recited, the hearts of the crowd resonated with transformation, a promise of healing taking root in their midst. As dawn broke on the horizon of their new beginning, David beheld the reflection of God's character in the lives of the people who once walked in despair. Their faces shone with renewed purpose, rejoicing in the confluence of shared burdens and divine promises being fulfilled. The vision that had once drawn him into the depths of despair now stood tangible before his eyes, a kingdom poised on the brink of a glorious redemption, anchored in a steadfast love that could quell the fiercest storm. United under the banner of healing and hope, the people of Israel, led by their king, walked boldly into the future. "Go forth, my brothers and sisters," David proclaimed into the morning sun, "for our God goes before us. He is the light amidst darkness, our deliverer and redeemer." Entering a new era marked by faith, David recognized with clarity that it was not the mere act of kingship that would define him, but the pursuit of a God whose promises endured forever. He took a deep breath, emboldened by the assurance that the shadows would not overcome those who walk with the Lord. This was their time. This was the moment they would rise, the time of healing, of unity, and of the promise that emanates from the one who is steadfast, a time wherein the hearts of many would forever be transformed. And so, as the echoes of the kingdom's new dawn resounded in every heart, the call for transformation rippled through generations, an eternal message that would not fade away, a legacy sealed by the King who reigns everlasting. May we rise with the same assurance, embracing our divine purpose in the grand tapestry of God's love. If this story has spoken to your heart, I urge you subscribe immediately to join our journey in uncovering more powerful biblical narratives. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm. Comment below how this account of David's journey has impacted your faith and what lessons you glean from his steadfastness. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content like this to reach more souls for Christ.